It was the day before Thanksgiving, 1971. A man in a black suit and sunglasses boarded a plane in Portland with a briefcase and a secret. Just after takeoff, he handed a note to a flight attendant. She assumed it was his number. She smiled politely, slipped it into her pocket, and turned to walk away. That's when the man leaned closer and whispered, "Miss, you'd better read that note. I have a bomb." What followed became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. A skyjacking so bold, it stunned the FBI, baffled the world, and vanished, just like the man behind it. This is the story of D.B. Cooper. Wednesday, November 24th, 1971. A man walked into the terminal at Portland International Airport. He looked like a businessman, mid-40s, neatly dressed in a black raincoat, dark suit, white shirt, black tie, and sunglasses. He gave his name as Dan Cooper. The flight was Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, a short 30-minute trip to Seattle. He paid in cash, just $20, no ID required. At 2:50 p.m., the Boeing 727 took off. There were 36 passengers on board. Cooper sat near the back, seat 18C. He ordered a bourbon and soda, calm, polite, not at all suspicious. Then, at 3 p.m., he handed a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. At first, she didn't read it. She figured it was just another flirty passenger. But then Cooper leaned in and quietly said the words that would change her life. "Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase. You'd better read that note." Florence opened the note. Neatly typed, it said, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I want you to sit beside me. You are being hijacked." Shaken, she did as he asked. Cooper cracked open his briefcase. Inside was a tangled mess of red cylinders and wires. Real or fake? She didn't know. She wasn't going to find out. Cooper then calmly made his demands. $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, 2 front, 2 back, a fuel truck ready in Seattle for refueling. No funny business. The captain relayed the message to air traffic control. The FBI was alerted. The plane circled Seattle for 2 hours while authorities scrambled to gather the money and parachutes. Passengers were told there was a minor mechanical issue. No one knew they were in the middle of a skyjacking. Cooper never panicked. He sipped his drink, smoked cigarettes, chatted with the crew. When Florence later described him, she said, "He wasn't nervous. He wasn't mean. He was just calm." At 5:39 p.m., Flight 305 landed in Seattle. The money and parachutes were delivered. In exchange, Cooper released the 36 passengers, but kept the crew on board. Now came the second part of his plan. With the money secured, Cooper issued new instructions. Fly to Mexico City. Keep the plane below 10,000 feet. Fly slow, no more than 200 knots. Keep the landing gear down. Rear air stair lowered mid-flight. These were not normal demands. No one hijacked a plane and asked to keep the back staircase down. No one knew that was even possible. But Cooper did. The crew argued the plane couldn't make it all the way to Mexico without refueling. They agreed to stop in Reno. At 7:40 p.m., Flight 305 took off again, with just 5 souls on board: the pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer, a single flight attendant, and D.B. Cooper. Somewhere around 8:13 p.m., flying over the dense forests of southern Washington, the plane's cabin pressure suddenly shifted. An indicator light told the crew the rear air stair had been activated. Cooper was gone. The moment the plane landed in Reno, the FBI swarmed on board. But there was no sign of Cooper. All he left behind was a black tie, 8 cigarette butts, and 2 of the parachutes. The search area? 36 square miles of rugged wilderness, forests, rivers, and steep terrain. But there was one big problem. No one knew exactly where he jumped. Wind speed, air pressure, darkness, it all made pinpointing the drop zone nearly impossible. For weeks, teams scoured the woods on foot, by helicopter with dogs, even infrared cameras. Nothing. No parachute, no body, no money. It was like Cooper had vanished into the night. The media mistakenly called him D.B. Cooper after an early suspect's name got confused in reports. But the man on the plane never said D.B., he said Dan Cooper. To this day, we still don't know his real name. The FBI launched what would become one of the longest and most exhaustive investigations in agency history. Over 800 suspects were considered. Veterans, convicts, former pilots, paratroopers. No one ever fit perfectly. Years passed, leads dried up, but the mystery only deepened. Then, in 1980, 9 years later, a young boy named Brian Ingram was digging in the sand on the banks of the Columbia River. He found something strange buried in the dirt, stacks of decaying $20 bills. The serial numbers matched the ransom money. In total, $5,800 in Cooper's cash. It was the first physical evidence since the night of the jump, but it raised more questions than it answered. Was Cooper a master criminal, an inside man, or just lucky? Dozens of suspects have been proposed over the decades. Here are just a few. Richard McCoy, a Vietnam vet who hijacked a plane in 1972 using nearly identical tactics. He used a fake grenade and demanded $500,000. After his capture, some agents were convinced he was Cooper, but others disagreed. McCoy was taller, younger, and looked different. Kenneth Christensen, a former paratrooper and Northwest Airlines employee. His brother claimed Kenneth once said, "There's something you should know, but I can't tell you." When Kenneth died, his family found unexplained wealth. Robert Rackstraw, a Vietnam veteran with a criminal record, explosives training, and possible ties to the name Dan Cooper. In 2018, a group of amateur sleuths claimed he was the real hijacker, but the FBI dismissed the evidence. L.D. Cooper, his niece, claimed he came home after Thanksgiving 1971, covered in blood and injuries, saying he was in a car accident. He was obsessed with the comic book character Dan Cooper, a fictional Canadian pilot. Still, the FBI could never prove any of them were D.B. Cooper. So, did Cooper survive? Many experts say no. Jumping from a 727 at night, in a storm, over dense forest, wearing loafers and a trench coat, not exactly a smart move. But others argue he had to be an expert. His calmness, his knowledge of the plane, his unique parachute request, his planning. Maybe he landed safely, changed his identity, lived out his life quietly, a legend hiding in plain sight. Or maybe he died that night. His body lost forever in the wilderness. The $200,000 has never fully surfaced. The FBI officially closed the case in 2016, unsolved. To this day, D.B. Cooper remains one of the most iconic names in American crime. He didn't hurt anyone. He didn't shoot. He didn't scream. He just got on a plane and vanished. He's been the subject of books, movies, podcasts, and endless theories. Was he a criminal genius? A dead man walking? Or just a guy with a dream and the guts to try? The truth may never be known. But one thing is certain. On a stormy November night in 1971, a man in a black suit rewrote the rules of crime and walked straight into legend. From a man who slipped away into the clouds to a young woman whose death would stain the streets of Los Angeles forever. Our next mystery isn't about escape. It's about a crime so disturbing it would shock America for decades. The Black Dahlia murder.